Video. Trace?
Sounds like a trial's coming. Jonathan, thank you. For more on what kind of legal jeopardy Alec Baldwin is about to find himself in, let's bring in former head county prosecutor and criminal defense attorney Bob Bianchi and former federal prosecutor Joe Moreno. Gentlemen, thank you both. Bob, to you first. I want to play some sound. Here's Alec Baldwin saying that he did not pull the trigger, followed by a prosecutor saying, oh, yes, he did. Watch.
It wasn't in the script for the trigger to be pulled.
Well, the trigger wasn't pulled. I didn't pull the trigger.
So you never pulled the trigger?
No. I would never point a gun at anyone and pull a trigger at them. Never. That was the training that I had. You don't point a gun at me and pull the trigger.
Yeah, and the prosecutor went on to say, oh, yes, he did. In fact, let's play the prosecutor right now.
We definitely believe he pulled the trigger. The FBI lab report confirms that, so definitely the trigger was pulled.
What do you think, Bob? Does Alec Baldwin's denial here help the prosecutor in any sense?
Absolutely. Trace, I know people look at this and they want to they like Alec Baldwin, they don't like Alec Baldwin. That's not what happens in a court of law. These would have been very difficult charges to prove because it's not about mere simple civil negligence. You have to show a conscious disregard for a known risk and where they don't use due care and circumspection. What he did in that clip is say, I didn't fire the weapon. We have the FBI saying you could only if your finger's on the trigger can the weapon be fired. But I think more importantly, he's saying, I knew beforehand that pointing a weapon at a person on the set is an inappropriate practice and it shouldn't be done. Well, we know he had the weapon pointed at her because the bullet hit her. These are damning admissions that if the prosecution did not have, would have made the defense case much more powerful.
And it's a good point because, the whole thing, Joe, is this gun misfired before. Alec Baldwin knew that, right? He knew. And even though he was told the gun was cold and did not have any live bullets, does it increase his liability as a producer of this movie, knowing that this gun had some, bad action previously?
Trace, I agree with Bob that, this is a difficult case because the standard that has to be met here is not just simple negligence, right? If you go to a firing range, the instructions always are you keep a live weapon pointed down range. If you pivot and that that gun fires off and shoots someone, that's a problem here, right? In this case, though, Alec Baldwin was told there were blanks in this weapon. And even if he checked the weapon, how are we to expect that he would know what a blank versus a live round looked like? So I don't know. I think that it's one thing to bring these charges. I'm not convinced they get past a probable cause determination here. It's another thing to get to a jury and get 12 men and women to agree to that.
A couple of other quick topics I want to say. The president came out and he said this about the classified documents. So I'll get your take afterwards. Watch.
I think you're going to find there's nothing there. I have no regrets. I'm following what the lawyers have told me they want me to do. It's exactly what we're doing. There's no there. Thank you.
I don't know, Bob. If there's no there, you would think the White House would be answering a whole bunch of more questions. If you're not answering questions, there might be some there. Your thoughts?
Yeah, Trace, fair enough in the court of public opinion. But, as a lawyer, if he were to advise me, I would say to him, and I think any competent defense attorney, regardless of their political stripes, would say the same thing. Look, do not speak publicly like Alec Baldwin and get yourself into trouble. Defer all questions to the Department of Justice, period, end of story. That's the smart way to play it.
Yeah, it's interesting, too. And I want to lastly touch on this because the Supreme Court could not identify a leaker in the Dobbs opinion. Of course, that's the case that overturned Roe v. Wade. Jonathan Turley said the following here, Joe, quoting, the Supreme Court's report indicates they cannot isolate the culprit among the over 80 possible suspects for the Dobbs leak. It is an admission that is almost as chilling as the leak itself. Is it because, Joe, they just let everybody work from home now and it's really tough to figure out where this thing came from?
Trace, this is a miscarriage of justice. This is unbelievable. I was nervous about this from the beginning when the Supreme Court failed to bring in the FBI to conduct this investigation. And again, they gave it to the Supreme Court police force. Now, look, the marshal's office might be great at providing court security, but they're not investigators. So I'm not shocked that now 8 long months later, they haven't found a culprit. Keep in mind, too, there's a lot of us lawyers out there, but only the elite of the elite among attorneys get to practice at the Supreme Court. The fact fact that we can't police these people, it's a sad state of affairs.
It really is. That's a sad state of affairs. A lot of people have echoed that. Bob Bianchi, Joe Moreno, thank you, gentlemen, for coming on. We appreciate it.
Of course.
Thanks, Trace.
As we showed you first on last night's show, a suburban San Diego YMCA is under fire and taking heat from protesters over its